Now we hear a presentation from Elena Lobova about mentoring, about coaching, about gaining experience from some higher, from more experienced colleagues, I would say like that. She's a co-founder of CBDO, and I only have one question to her. Did you personally have a mentor in your life?
Of course I did. And you will hear more about it very soon.
So I'm looking forward to hear it. Let's greet her with loud applauses.
Okay, hi everyone. As you already know, my name is Elena. I'm a co-founder and CBDO of GDBAY. And today we'll talk about mentorship. But before we start, I'd like to know a little bit more about you guys and how much do you already know about mentors and mentorship. Please raise your hands if you have ever had a mentor in your life. Okay, not much. Please raise your hand if you have ever been a mentor in your life. Okay, so who did both? Okay, three people, of course, the speakers of the conference. And raise your hands if you have never had a mentor and if you have never been a mentor, but you really want to get one or become one. Okay, so makes sense why you're here. I hope that if I repeat the same question at the end of my talk, there will be even more hands. So coming back to mentorship. I already know a bit more about you, about who of you had mentors, who of you have been mentors, and now I will tell you a bit more about myself. Why am I standing here and why am I talking about mentorship today? So my name is Elena, as you hear it for the third time, so you remember it for sure. And I've been in games industry for 12 years, pretty much my entire career. 6 out of these 10 years I spent as Chief Operational Officer and later as Chief Executive Officer of iLogos, game development outsourcing company. In 2017, I started Achievers Hub, which was the acceleration company who were helping game developers bring their games to success. And later it became a part of GDBAY. GDBAY developed GDBAY Network, which is a networking platform for game developers, like LinkedIn for game developers. And we also organize Global Games Pitch. It's the biggest international online pitching show and pitching platforms where game developers can pitch their games to publishers and investors. And publishers and investors can find cool games from all parts of the world. Also, I'm doing some business development consulting here and there, and I'm a believer in the power of networking. That's why I'm traveling a lot and meeting a lot of people, and really happy always to meet someone new, to share, and to know someone new from them. Mentorship was always a part of my career in one way or another. In the beginning, when I started, I already told you that I worked in games industry for my entire professional life. I actually started when I was still a student. It was year 2011. I was completing my master's thesis in computer science, and I was also a part of international student nonprofit, where I was responsible for bringing corporate sponsors for our social projects. And back then, in 2011, I was looking for sponsors for our career forum for the social project about the employment of youth. And I met a very young entrepreneur in my hometown in the east of Ukraine who already had his own company that developed games. We worked together, he liked my approach, and later he invited me to join the company as the second manager of the company, which made me, at the age of 21, a chief operational officer. So that's a fun fact about me that I always like to tell. My first job was chief operational officer of a startup, but still, which means that I had to do a lot of things myself. I had to recruit people, I had to sign documents, I had to look for clients, I had to do PR, finance, a lot of things. And you would probably ask how a 21-year-old student could know how to do all of this, right? That's a very logical question. And the truth is, I did not. I had no idea how to do all of this. So I had to learn a lot. I had to read some materials, I had to watch some materials, but I figured out that the best way to learn how to do this is to meet people who already did this in their lives and who were willing to share it with me. So this is how I met one of my first mentors. And later on, iLogos grew to 300 people company. I was there for 6 years, and I already was like more or less experienced. And people started inviting me to become mentors in their organizations. People started asking me to mentor them, and of course, I said yes because I wanted to give back to the industry that gave so much to me. And all of my next projects, all of the companies that I started, had mentorship in the very essence. At Achievers Hub, we had mentors who help developers make their projects better. At Global Game Speech, we can also have dedicated mentorship help, dedicated mentors who help developers make their pitches better, prepare to the pitching show, and make their games better and have better chances for success. So mentorship was always somewhere around me. So we talked already, I said a lot about mentorship, and I said these words, mentor and mentorship, so many times, but not many of you have ever been or have ever had mentors. So what exactly it is, you might ask. This is the explanation that I found most frequently on the internet, that mentor is a more experienced professional who offers you guidance, advice, and assistance from their point of view. You may say it's like pretty broad, right? It could be a teacher. It could be like just your friend. It could be so many things. So how is mentorship different from all of the things? What exactly mentorship is? And one of my favorite ways to answer this question is to describe what mentorship is not. Mentorship is definitely not a paid consultation. So if you hire someone to help you for money, it's not mentorship. It's paid consultancy. Usually, mentorship is based on non-monetary exchange. Mentorship is not direct subordination. So when someone hires you and your manager tells you how to do your job because you're new in the company, it doesn't mean that this person is your mentor. They are just doing their job. Mentorship is not a friendly advice, though your friend can be your mentor, of course. It's not coaching. It's different from coaching. And of course, it's not a psychological therapy. So if you need help in this way, better go to the dedicated people. Definitely not your mentor should do that. So if mentors doesn't do that, what mentor can do for you? First of all, mentors share the experience because they are more experienced individuals and they are eager to share their knowledge and their contacts and so on. Mentors also ask you the right questions. It means that they will not tell you what exactly to do, and they will definitely not do your work instead of you, but they can ask you the right questions. And sometimes these questions can be difficult. Sometimes you subconsciously avoid these questions because they're uncomfortable, but these questions need to be asked. Sometimes even hearing these questions and finding out your answers yourselves is very helpful for you. If you don't know how to answer the questions, mentors can help you with sharing their knowledge, their resources, and their network. Usually, they're very connected people, not only because they probably have been in the industry for longer than you, but also because people who agree to become someone's mentors usually enjoy sharing the experience. It means that they probably travel, they meet a lot of people, and they know a lot of people. So if they cannot help you directly, they can introduce you to someone who might have had the similar problem or someone who can help you resolve your problem. They also offer an outside perspective and give you honest feedback on whatever you're doing. This is one of the direct responsibilities of mentors, to be honest and to have your best interests in mind. At Achievers Hub, the first stage that all developers, all projects went through was to get the first evaluation from the mentors and to get the first advice about their project and which direction it should or shouldn't get, and how to make it better from different perspectives. And my favorite part about mentorship is that mentors inspire and motivate. Sometimes even the fact that this person you really respect and admire agreed to be your mentor and really believes in you and believes in your success, because if this person agreed to be your mentor, it means they believe in you. And if this amazing person agreed to become your mentor, this alone might be enough for you to get some inspiration and motivation. Also, hearing their stories and understanding that this amazing, successful people at one time were in your shoes can be very inspirational as well. This is one of my best quotes about mentorship. If you want to go somewhere, it's best to ask someone who has already been there. Of course, if you got lost in a different city or on your professional path or in your company strategy, you can read something, you can watch something, but the best way is to always to ask someone who already has been through this kind of problems. So this is exactly how mentorship works. Before we discuss who can be your mentor, let's discuss what kind of mentors exist. There can be a mentor personally for you, someone who helps you achieve your career goals, to broaden your perspective, to acquire needed skills. They can help you with your professional path. And there can be a mentor for your project who focuses on your project or a company success rather than your personal success. For example, when I was at iLogos, I had some mentors personally for me. Someone I met at the games industry trade shows, someone who already had built companies and who can offer me like some perspective and some advice on how to be a better manager for my employees. And also, I once had, there was one part of my professional career, very short one, when I was not working in games industry. It was a technological startup that was close to games industry, but not really gaming. And in this case, we had an investor, an VC, and this person, our investor, became mentor for our project because they have already invested in similar kind of projects and they knew what kind of challenges we might face. If you have a mentor for your project, it can be a generalist mentor or a specialist mentor. Generalist mentor is usually a person who has a perspective about how to run the company in general. They can advise you on your general strategy. And specialist mentors are people who can advise you in some specific areas of expertise. At Achievers Hub, we had a lot of mentors, one project working with a lot of mentors. Some of them could provide some perspective on the project aesthetics and arts. Some of them can provide some advice about the project game design, for example, technical implementation, and so on. So who can be a mentor? I have a few questions for you that I will ask, and let's try to answer these questions together. Do you think that your boss can be your mentor? Yes, because actually, I'm pretty sure that for many people, even in this room, uh, their bosses were your bosses were your mentors. Even when you not formally set up this relationship as mentorship, my first ever mentor that I mentioned when I started was my boss, was CEO of iLogos Max. So he became a mentor for me. Can your friend be your mentor? Yes, that too. As long as you can learn something from this person, as long as this person is more experienced than you in something, your friend probably cannot be your psychoanalyst, but they can definitely be your mentor. Can your mentor be younger than you? Yeah, okay, that's easier one because it doesn't really depend on age, or on gender, on race, on whatever. Even younger people could have more experience in something than you. Can your mentor be from other part of the world? Yeah, I think that now it's not even a question, especially after COVID, when the entire world is online. As long as you can have one language that you both speak, mentorship's gonna work. I'm not sure, maybe even without this. I don't know. Never had this experience, but maybe I should find out. Can your mentor be from a different field in your industry? Exactly. Yeah. So there are transferable skills. And even if I, for example, manage a game development company, but there is a manager of a fitness club that I really look up to, and I want this person to be my mentor and to help me build my company, of course, I can reach out to this person. Okay. So all of these people can be your mentors. Does it really mean that anyone can be a mentor? No, definitely not. It can be almost anyone. Anyone who you respect professionally, because you will be getting a lot of advice from these people and you need to trust them. If you don't trust they have your best interest in mind, what's the point of this? Someone that you like on personal level, because you should really look forward to your mentorship meetings, and it should be a person that it's pleasant to spend time with. Otherwise, you would just avoid these meetings and postpone them, and again, it would only harm yourself or your game. Someone you trust, that's also very important because you will be potentially sharing a lot of sensitive information with these people. We had these situations when some of the developers didn't want to share with their mentors because these mentors worked in the companies that built similar projects. And they were afraid that because of the competition, their mentors would steal their ideas. Well, in ideal world, mentors would not do that. But if you don't trust the person, it's better to not even start. It's better to find someone else that you trust. Someone who has time to dedicate to you. In many cases, these people are pretty busy. So it's important to discuss it at the very beginning, how much time this person has, even if they really like your project. If they are always busy and don't have time for you, it probably will not work out. And someone who is willing to share their knowledge to help you succeed. I've known some companies who wanted to implement mentorship culture in their companies, and they set up mentorship as some obligation. So they obliged some of their senior employees to become mentors and younger employees to become mentees. I don't believe in this. I only believe that mentorship can be fruitful when person wants to do it and doesn't do it because they're afraid to lose their job, for example. So it should be someone who has your, as I already said, best interest in mind, probably not your direct competitor, probably not ex of your wife, but I don't know, maybe if you're good friends, that might work as well. So you've heard a lot about what mentees get from mentors. Why mentors do that, right? What mentors get in exchange? Because we already talked that it's not monetary relationship. They're not getting any money. They are spending their time. What could be? Is it just charity, or like what could they get from it? Actually, mentors get quite a lot. I think in many cases they get more than their mentees. First of all, they can get the insights about the market, about what kind of games are developed, about what kind of problems people are facing at different stages, and they can use it for their own personal and professional development or their company's development. Many of them look at it as living a legacy, especially people who has already built a professional career. They want to give back to the industry and to influence the industry in a way, because people who have mentees, they pass their worldview and they really can make a big change. Someone looked at it as taking a challenge, especially people who used to be very hands-on, who used to work directly with art or programming or game design. And then they grew up professionally and became managers. And instead of doing what they really liked, what they came here for, they have to focus on management or managing their companies in some cases. And they like to be part of something like real job, let's say. And some of them just like this challenge. They like the startup spirit. They like to get back to it. Even when they manage a 300 people company, they want to be a part of something new and something growing. For many of them, it's a possibility to create a long-term relationship with a mentee. For example, some VC funds and some investors take some startup founders as their mentees, so they could help them bring their projects to success to the stage when they can step in and invest in this company. And at Global Games Pitch, a lot of our mentors are publishers who are looking at the projects, and they can help these projects to become better, and they can establish some relationship with these companies. So at the point when they're ready to pitch games to publishers and investors, they would already have a trustworthy relationship, which means if there is a competition from publishers, it happens also for a really cool project, they would probably select the one that they already know and they already worked with. And sometimes mentors just believe in this person or in this project and wanted to succeed. And this alone is worth spent time and effort. So sometimes maybe you can see some project that you really want to happen and you believe that it would be good. It would be good for the industry, it would be good for the world. And if you can help it, why not help it? This is what our mentors say. I asked several people why do they like to be mentors, and that's what they replied. You don't need to read all of this. I just highlighted some main parts. So someone wants to meet new talented incoming indie developers. Someone wants to give back and to also gain knowledge. Someone wants to be part of the industry, helping it grow. Someone is looking to sourcing games for publishing or looking for some games to invest. Someone wants to enter some company's board, so you can say they want to establish long-term relationship. There are two quotes that I really like. If I can help at least one person, I think my life was worth living. Makes sense. And I feel experienced enough to help, but not old enough to stop listening. That means that mentors also learn during this relationship. And one person, in addition to knowledge sharing, even has an ambition to change the current trends in the market. And it's really possible when you're mentoring a lot of teams, you can influence what's going on, not just get your insight. So this is what mentors say and why they enjoy it. And it's overall, it's a great feeling to understand that someone looks up to you. Believe me, this is why I'm standing here and giving talks at the conferences. How exactly mentorship works? It can work in many different ways. It can be formal or informal. You can set up some fixed time frame. For example, decide that you have a mentorship meeting every week or like twice a week or twice a month, or you can have no schedule at all. You can just set up meetings when you feel like you need to get some advice. The most important part is to define it from the very beginning, to make sure that you're on the same page and to talk about your expectations. What are your expectations and your mentor's expectations, and be ready to compromise. Pretty much like marriage. Uh, but in this relationship, remember that it's not really equal because initiative should always go from the mentee. Your mentor will definitely not be the person to push you, to remind you about the deadlines, to remind you about your meetings. Mentee should prepare for the talk. It's in your best interest, so never come unprepared and value your mentor's time. Prepare your questions in advance and approach your mentor in advance. Set up when your next meeting will be. To get the most of this relationship, you would need to always come prepared. How to get most of this relationship also? First, view feedback as a gift. Look at feedback as something that mentor gave to you. They dedicated you their time, they put some effort in it, and sometimes it can be hard to take. We all know that. We all heard different feedbacks, especially when we are working on something and it's creative, and we very often view our projects like our child. And when someone says something that can be perceived as a critique, it may be pretty hard for us to process. But it's very good to remember that mentors have your best interest in mind. And even if you feel like it was a little bit too harsh, uh, take this feedback, thank for this feedback, and you may always say that it was a bit like too rude or whatever. It's always important to talk about this thing. And sometimes, as we know, if we ever put our work on some display, maybe on games for showcase, we know that some people like to say negative feedback just because they want to feed their ego. If you chose your mentor right, they would never do that. They would only say what they're saying because they wish you the best. Listen to them, but make your own decisions. One of the most common mistakes of mentees, when they select someone they really admire and they really trust, then they just blindly follow whatever these people tell you. And sometimes you can talk to several people and their advice can be contradictory, even when all of these people are really experienced. Because at the end of the day, those are just people and their opinions, no matter how successful they are. And it's your project, so it should always be your decision. Take your advice and decide what you want to do with it yourself. Look at mentorship as a loot box. You get it to accelerate your progress, but you never really know what's gonna be inside. And the last but not least, where you can find a mentor. As we already discussed, almost anyone can be your mentor. So you can find them almost everywhere. At your workplace, we already know that your boss can be your mentor, but not only your boss, it can be your colleague. It can be someone you work in the same division or in the different divisions. It can be someone that is even your subordinate in some ways, probably. But yeah, usually it's someone more superior than you. You can find them among your industry friends. As we already know, friends can be mentors. And in many cases, it works the other way around. Mentors and their mentees become lifelong friends. So you can start from both sides. You can look for mentors at your training, schools, seminars. It can be one of your teachers, it can be one of your peers. You can look for them in professional resources online, chats, Discord. For now, we have a lot of these things. Conferences, expos, events, just like this one. And there are also some specialized events or organizations. For example, mentorship workshops, mentorship cafes at the event, accelerators, incubators. They can sign you up with like assign a mentor to you, or you can select from the people who work with this organization. Mentors can be everywhere. The most important thing is to not be afraid to ask someone to become your mentor, because the worst thing that could happen is you hear no. But believe me, no one was ever offended by someone who asked this person to become their mentor. They would probably say no because they don't have time. It's the most often reason that you would hear. But in best case scenario, you will receive a mentor and possibly even a lifelong friend. That's it from me. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, yay, we do.
You have told. Thank you so much for the session. It was awesome. You have told that mentors should not be forced into that. I totally agree. However, how do you feel about nudging someone? What if a person, like they would be a great mentor because they have all the personality, all the skills, and they actually have a person who's interested? How do you feel about being a bit of a mentor to them and nudging them towards that?
Well, I mean, it would be like just persuasion job. I think that yes, it sometimes it might be worth it, but still you might need to get to the point when the person agrees finally. Even if they agrees because oh my god, okay, and it might not work. But you have to be prepared that it might not work because sometimes we think that someone would be a good mentor, but they really don't. So if you think it's gonna be worth it, maybe. But of course, at the end, you just receive their agreement because they could see some of the benefits. I think that the best way to persuade someone to become a mentor, if they have time for it, but they are not really sure why they need it, is just to list some of these benefits that I mentioned, and maybe one of these benefits would click with them, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I should try it. Yeah, hope it answers your question. Thank you. Okay, we have one question over there. How long did it take? Okay, half an hour exactly, just as they planned.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for your great speech.
Thank
And we
you.
have a probably difficult question because a lot of people asking me to be their mentor, for example.
Mhm.
And actually, I don't always know if it's a good idea to be a mentor for a specific person. So probably you have some advices or you have some experience you can share about what is the worst cases of mentorship and how to understand if I can mentor somebody. I can
Mhm.
be a mentor for somebody. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. That's a really interesting question. Yeah. Well, I will try. I will start answering what are the best cases. Of course, the best cases is that if you like if this person asks you to become their mentor and you can see that this person at this point of their career or like game development where you've been and you know that you went through this and you learned from it. It doesn't really matter if it resulted in success or failure, but you did this like learning curve and you can share. But if maybe like I think the worst cases, in my experience, the worst cases is when you have like very different professional passes. For example, sometimes we tried to match mentors with developers, and mentors then said, yeah, I will probably not be able to tell them anything because I don't have experience. It's like this is the first that the first part, that mentors should have experience in this area. And if, for example, these mentors during their whole life they were working on like mobile free to play project, and someone asked them to mentor their game that is like narrative Steam, like whatever game, or like shooter for PC, then they might not feel like it's a good idea. So it depends on what these people really want. Do they want a project mentor who would help their project to be better, or do they want a like a more generalist mentor, a mentor for themselves that can become role models for them and can help them become better managers, and to like grow their companies, maybe to raise funds. In this case, it doesn't matter what the product is. So I think that like the important part is to get the expectations right and see if it matches with your experience. And if it doesn't, then it's probably not a good idea. But also, like, you didn't ask that, but I thought you would ask. I thought you would said like what I would recommend you to say to these people, and maybe for someone it will be useful. Question that I wasn't asked. So if in these cases, I usually say that, hey, I'm not the best. Like I wouldn't be the best mentor for you, but I know someone who might be. Recommend someone else. Thank you. Hey.
Hey, thank you very much for the lecture. I actually was a little bit late, so maybe you were talking about, but the second part of the previous question, what to do if, for example, you mentor people, but you yourself have the imposter syndrome. I mean, this is maybe like also a part of that question for the mentor. In case you say that anyone actually who has the imposter syndrome can say, I'm not the best person for you, but like people already know this experience and you actually match with this experience. But what should the mentor, like maybe you have some tips what the mentors can
There
do?
was something, it would be like, not sure if it will be a good reply, but if you feel like you're struggling with imposter syndrome, there is like one thing on the bottom of this. Maybe maybe that would help. I think that if you have an imposter syndrome yourself, you need to first help yourself and to find someone who would help you to get over your imposter syndrome. It can be like a psychotherapist, for example. It can be like your friend. It can be your mentor, actually. So I think that, I mean, all people who have imposter syndrome, like they have like these waves when sometimes they feel like high on their self-image, sometimes low, and I guess it's good to remember the moments when you got your skills like praised by other people, when you get some proof for yourself that you are capable of doing it, to remind yourself of your accomplishments, to try to get rid of it, or to work with with other people, to work with a specialist to get over it. But of course, it doesn't mean, we all understand, it doesn't mean that when you have an imposter syndrome, you will be a bad mentor. No, of course. So the question is just how to agree to become a mentor when you have an imposter syndrome. I mean, work on your imposter syndrome, or just do it anyway and see what happens. Maybe mentorship would be the way to get over the imposter syndrome, because you work with someone, you can see these people succeed, and then you think, yeah, well, I actually know a thing or two. I can give some good advice. Thank you too. This question made me also think about the creative ways of how to approach it. You can see it's a circulation of knowledge and experience. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I can see that we don't have any questions. So
We have one.
we have one. Okay.
At the beginning, you said that you were already working in game industry when you were still studying at the university, right?
Kind of. Yeah, it was really a little bit intersected. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask something a bit more personal. And what is your opinion about that?
Okay.
And do you think that is it worth to get master degree when you are already working partly in this game industry when you want where you want to work?
That's
And also,
okay.
one
So
other thing.
mentorship right now starts right now. I got it.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
actually part of the second question.
Okay. So of course you have to decide yourself. It depends of like if you know or you think you know that you want to do what you're already doing, and if you think that you're getting a degree would somehow help you on getting where you want in this on your professional path, then it makes sense, of course, to finish it. But if you feel like you know what you want to do and you feel like this like master whatever degree wouldn't in any way influence like this and wouldn't help you to get where you want, I would say like why waste your time. But you can always like everybody is, as I said, it is in mentorship, everybody decides for themselves.
So, in your case, you think that it gives you a little bit more that you finish this
I
master
was
degree?
I was working on my master's. I had 2 months to just finish. I was working on my
Oh.
master's thesis, so of course I finished it.
Yeah, okay, but thank you for your answer.
Thank you for your question.